Everything may seem prosaic when you arrive at the entrance to the site of Poseokjeong Pavilion. The ginkgo tree is mute with all its fallen leaves, and the Poseokjeong Garden looks like a small deserted park in a city. What a secluded historical site! Each tree, aware of the turn of the seasons, has changed its leaves into autumn clothes before letting them all go. If you look through the pages of history, are there any historical sites in your country that have a dual history of peace and tragic massacre to match this one? In this site of a detached palace, it is thought that there was a pavilion called Poseokjeong here. In the middle of its garden, you can still see a curved stone canal shaped like an ear shell. This was the venue for a drinking game. Royal personages and their noble guests would sit around the watercourse, and one of them would float a glass of wine on the water while reciting a line of poetry. He or she would challenge another guest to compose a second line before the glass reached him or her. If the guest was unable to do this, then he or she had to drink all the wine and try again until successful. According to 삼국유사, King Hyeongang and King Gyeonghae were two kings who feasted here. There is no record of any other kings taking advantage of this location for luxurious banquet. When King Hyeongang arrived here, the god of Mount Namsan appeared and danced before him. No one saw the deity except the king, who mimicked the god's movement for his courtiers. The name of the god was Sangsim. Dances such as Omu Sangsim or Omu Sanshin are modeled after the king's divine dances of that day. The dances were also called Sangnyeommu. When the king visited Geumgangryong, Okdogam, the god of the northern mountain, also appeared and danced before him. The dance of the same name is modeled after this god's dance. Furthermore, the earth god appeared and danced at a banquet in Dongnaejeon. This dance was called Jibekgupgan, also taking the name of the god. The song that the mountain god sang while dancing contained an occult phrase, Jirida Dopa Dopa. This phrase suggests that the wise man who had ruled the country would run away after recognizing various bad omens. As a result, the city would soon be destroyed. In fact, this ominous phrase did not indicate the collapse of the city, but predicted the fall of the whole country. Jirida Dopa Dopa, Jirida Dopa Dopa. Was the king's dance also an omen of destruction? The curse of Silla's collapse was handed down to his two daughters, Queen Uisung, King Sindak's wife, and the Lady Gea, the mother of King Gyeongsun. It was in turn passed on to the three kings who were his maternal grandsons, King Gyeongmyeong, King Gyeonghae, and King Gyeongsun. The curse fell heavily on the last two kings, King Gyeonghae, the 55th king from the Park clan, and the King Gyeongsun, the 56th and the last king of the dynasty from the Kim clan. They were cousins on their mother's side. In September 927, or the fourth year of King Gyeonghae's reign, Gyeonhwan, Silla's arch-enemy, invaded the country as far as Yeongcheon, 20 miles away, and attacked the Silla army there. Before Wangan's army could come to Silla's rescue, the enemy made a surprise attack on the capital that November. What a terrible catastrophe! The king, along with his queen, his concubines, and his relatives had been enjoying a banquet here in Poseokjeong Garden. When the surprise attack took place, the king, not knowing what to do, fled with the queen to a hole in the palace and hid himself. The relatives, dignitaries, and ladies ran for their lives and scattered everywhere. After Gyeonhwan had plundered all the wealth in the country, his army finally caught the king and queen. Gyeonhwan forced the king to kill himself and rape the queen. He then told his men they could rape the king's concubines and the noble ladies as well. Gyeonhwan forced one of the king's cousins to take over the reign of the country temporarily. He was King Gyeongsun, the last king in the thousand-year dynasty. Although Gyeongsun had become king, how was he supposed to save the country which had been completely devastated? In fact, he surrendered his kingdom to Wangon in 935, fearing lest any of his subjects should be harmed in a war. Gyeonhwan was a brute. Why did he make the king's cousin take the crown rather than making himself the new king of Silla? How could he commit so many atrocities? Was he aware that he lacked the necessary virtue to rule the people and that he would never be a respected king in his native country? No poet could leave this side of pathos without composing a tragic verse. Joey visited here during the reign of King Seongjong of the Joseon dynasty. He was so moved by the history of the fallen dynasty that he composed a poem on the ruined kingdom. The sad cloud over Haemokryong Pass repent. The pine trees voice 1,000 years lament. A maple tree is looking down at an empty bench. It's about to take off its red dress. It snows on Poseokjeong Garden too. When it snows, the trees draw out their long shadows, lay them down on the snow, and become shy. The snow has fallen on the ancient stone canal, on the 100-year-old trees, on the fallen kingdom, and even on the sad chronicle. In this mountain covered with snow, where is Sangsim, the god of Mount Namsan? The sound of the wind in the pine trees is mixed with the moan of 1,000 years. Only the Buddhas sitting on their snowy seat have closed their eyes and smile. The view of the mountains covered with snow up to Haemokryong Pass looks so smooth, without any jagged rocks. Even if you mutter "Jirida dopa dopa" as many times as you wish, you will not activate any curse now. What's more, the bitter sorrow of the dynasty is getting dimmer and fading over time. Mount Namsan and the Poseokjeong Garden are idling away as prosaically as when you got out of your car and entered the site. It is as if nothing had ever happened to disturb the peace of this garden.